Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 4. So we're into the swing now for this fourth and final season of Superman and Lois, with us of course getting the 2-hour premiere containing both episodes 1 and 2 last week. By the time this video goes up, I think we might only be hopefully a day away from episode 3 coming out. Hopefully I get my timing right. Not 100% sure, but definitely want to get this video out before episode 3 airs at the very least. But we got some major stuff go down. Of course, the big and obvious one being the death of Superman in quite a gnarly manner, with Doomsday ripping his heart out, with the first big change from the comic storyline being the fact that Doomsday does not die in the same fight. In the comics, they both die in that fight. It's just Superman in the show, and Doomsday is still out there. And one question we have about Doomsday and his role this season, I guess, is brought up by one of the actors in this video. So, yeah, at least he doesn't necessarily explain it, but he definitely talks about it and maybe where things go later this season. But we do have a collection of the most important stuff that was dropping following the premiere of season 4 from the showrunners and an actor in the past few days, some of which is, teasing some stuff coming our way later in the season or in the next couple of episodes, as well as just overall explanations on a couple of teasers that were dropped throughout, I think mainly episode 1, but also 2, and just what they mean going forward. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Why did I get harmonic then? I don't know. But anyway, let me know your opinions down there in the comment section down below. Let's not sing. Just your thoughts, theories, predictions, expectations, opinions, whatever it is, let me know. And of course, you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support, drop a like, takes 2 seconds. So the first thing to go over is something about the Arrowverse as a whole, and it's really the showrunners talking about the pressures of not just ending the show, because it's also ending where it wasn't meant to be. This, I think we brought it up in another video, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago or something like that, but it was saying that the show was meant to go for 7 seasons. Of course, not happening anymore because it's only getting the 4th season and that's it. But it's the pressures around just not ending the show, but also the Arrowverse and just DC's run on the CW as a whole. And this is an interview from EW, or Entertainment Weekly, with the 2 showrunners of Todd Helbing and Brent Fletcher, and this is what they had to say about that whole thing. Inherently, there's so many pressures you feel with a TV show. Just writing the script was pressure, and then producing it, and the second that the show began. It's about Superman and Lois Lane, so there's a responsibility that comes with that too. With the Arrowverse, I've had 10 years of working in these shows and these worlds, and you want to do it justice, but you have to separate yourself from those feelings, or you are not going to leave your house because it'll be overwhelming. They follow on by saying the best way that we could approach it was to just do the best version of our show. As for Easter eggs, there's the idealistic version. In a comic book, you'd have all these characters at your disposal, so you can have whatever you want. But when you're talking about the schedules and money and budgets, it would be awesome to have Grant Gustin in this, but it's just not feasible. There are questions like that come up, and then there's the reality that hits you, and so ultimately, as we discussed in the room, we can just do what we can do, and I think the best way to honor that, to honor what has been done for 10 years, was to hopefully have the audience watch it and then feel satisfied. And I agree with pretty much all of this for the most part. Of course, this is mainly Todd Helbing. I think this was actually all Todd Helbing speaking, but they also had Brent Fletcher, the other showrunner there. But Todd Helbing has been there since The Flash season 1. He didn't start being a showrunner until season 3, I think it was, with his brother Aaron, and then he did season 4 and 5 by himself before Eric Wallace took over. But he's been there since the beginning of The Flash, essentially, and then of course then carried that over into showrunning Superman and Lois as well. So he's had a lot, it's not just he's some random coming in. It's not Bob Jones from down the street showed up and just did Superman and Lois and had nothing to do with whether it was the CW or just this universe as a whole before. He's been there for the entire, for pretty much almost the entire run outside of two seasons of Arrow, because of course Flash started after season 2 of Arrow. So he'd want to leave it on a good note as well. He wouldn't want to be doing a half-assed job and stuff like that. He'd want to have some pride in what he leaves the show, and also his time in this sort of realm as well. He's going to have a go at that. And in regards to he brings up, if you had endless amounts of money and endless amounts of time and there was no conflict of schedules, you'd do whatever you could. You'd bring everyone back and you just go, multiverse craziness, off its walls, off its head, everything like that. But you have to be reasonable in certain situations, and you have limits, whether it is, money-wise, time-wise, scheduling-wise, whatever it is. So you have to make what you can out of what you have. And I think the show is going to do that. I think the show is going to do a really good job of it. Now, I don't know necessarily if there's any major surprises coming our way that we don't know of or have no idea about or anything like that. But I definitely wouldn't put that on a pedestal and think that's going to happen, because you're probably, at the end of the day, probably going to be disappointed. But I think like his closing thing there is just like leaving the audience satisfied from what they watch, when it's, whether it's the entire final season as a whole or specifically the series finale. That's the way to honor the Arrowverse, and I agree with that 100%. Because you can, what would you rather, a really good series finale for the show, or an arse one that has like 10 cameos? You'd want the good finale, especially just for that specific show and just the common fan. You'd want a good finale. So I think that's what I'd rather have. But if you took maybe like a point off the quality and added 10 cameos, maybe you'd deal with that. But I'd rather the good finale than a crap one with just some like, oh my god, look who it is moment. So I agree with what he says here. Now, the big thing that came from episode 1, I think it was, yeah, at the end of episode 1, we hear the term Brainiac used alongside a character that works for Lex called Milton. They just say Milton. I don't think they say his last name. And this Milton was building Lex and technology to presumably hold Superman's heart, which was then confirmed later on. And people were wondering if that name drop of Brainiac was coincidental, considering it is a Superman show, or if it was intentional. Well, TV Line got some information to clarify that, and this is what they had to say. Co-showrunner Todd Helbing calls Amanda's comment intentional, telling TV Line that there will be more to come with Brainiac in future episodes. During a previous interview, Todd Helbing told us that a significant character from the comics would be referenced early in the final season. You hear the name drop, then you start hearing that name drop more, and then you see that person eventually. He told us at the time. Well, at least that's one mystery solved. Now, there was a mix-up, or a toss-up sort of thing, if like the mystery person was Lex Luthor's daughter Elizabeth, or someone else, you know. And obviously by the end of episode 1 we hear Brainiac, but Elizabeth Luthor is a creation for the show, so that's where it differs completely. It's not this, you know, significant character from the comics like Todd Helbing has quoted. So it's confirmed it's Brainiac. It's just, how's Brainiac going to fold into the show, and how is he going to appear? Now, Milton is Milton Fine. That's the character from the comics. Now, he was, I don't know, was he the first one? But he's a human host for what would be Brainiac. So I think this is like the easiest way they're going to do it. Now, whether he's already like weird, you know, like formed into that, I don't know, or that's something we see, I'm not too sure. That's a wait and see. Like, we don't know necessarily how they're going to go about it, but that confirms the connective dots there. Now, the big question that a lot of people are wondering, and I think you'd have to assume this is the case just because 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, and 4 + 1 is 5. But Tom Cavanagh's got to be playing this role, right? Like, Tom Cavanagh's got to be playing Milton Fine. Like, that's got to be it. Now, there's no confirmation or anything like that as of yet, but surely that's what's going on here. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Do you think he's playing someone else? Or do you think someone else is playing Milton Fine? Or do you think someone else is playing Milton Fine? You'll have to let me know. And the final main thing that came out is something with Michael Cudlitz. And this is a quick thing. It's just one question from an interview with him. And they asked, Lex also brings with him a very cool partner in crime in Doomsday. Although, can anyone control that monster? And this is what Michael had to say. He said, I would say Lex feels that Doomsday at some point becomes an extension of himself and, in a way, a surrogate child to do his bidding. We'll see how that plays out. We created the Frankenstein monster, but what have we really created? So that does heavily tease that Doomsday might go rogue, which I'm not surprised by. I mean, I'm sort of surprised that Lex has any control on Doomsday at this point. So it'd be interesting to see if like maybe Lex has to verse Doomsday. That'd be very interesting if he had to take out Doomsday himself. I don't know. But then again, there's a theory that like, you know, a decent theory that like, you know, Jordan and the heroes and everything like that have to get Doomsday's heart to save Superman. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way they go down. But I have a feeling Lex might lose control of Doomsday, whether it's soon or maybe like middle to the end of the season. I'm not too sure, but I think that's probably going to happen just because I don't know how you can consistently control something like that. But I just am very intrigued to see where, like, how Doomsday's used, because they easily could have just killed Doomsday in that fight, or had something where like once Lex got the heart back from Doomsday from Superman, he just found a way to, he had like a plan B to kill Doomsday, like it was like something implanted in his head that explodes his head or something and he can't come back from it. Something along those lines, because, you know, if Doomsday is actually like borderline indestructible, like how would Lex wouldn't just make him. Like Lex would have like some sort of plan that stops this thing existing. So yeah, maybe Lex might be forced to do that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the final thing to reference, which I just included at the end of this video, it was just something that was said. So I'm really like, you know, just summing it up from what was said. But Bitsy Tulloch did an interview. I think it was like on a red carpet at an event or something, and she was talking to Deadline. But so Bitsy Tulloch, of course, plays Lois Lane. She said that episode 3, so this week's episode, I guess hopefully tomorrow's episode from when you're watching this video, has a jaw-dropping moment. Now, I think she said it was at the end of the episode, but just, or at least towards the end of the episode. And I'm wondering, like, what could be the jaw-dropping moment? Like, I think episode 1, where the fact that Superman's heart had been ripped out, and then the fact that it was destroyed at the end of, or towards the end of episode 2, was pretty jaw-dropping, and apparently this is even bigger. So I wonder what it could be. Is it something with Superman? Is it something with Doomsday? Is it something with like Jordan or John Henry or Natalie? I don't know. I'm not too sure what it could be, but the only thing I'm wondering, the only thing I am wondering is that General Lane, I think his final episode is this 3rd episode. I wonder if he dies. I do wonder if he might die. Like, there's a bit of it, like, they bait and switch you, like, oh, he's going to die in episode 1, but he gets saved by Jordan, but maybe he dies this episode. I don't know. I have to wait and see, but apparently it's jaw-dropping, so get your theory engines rolling, I guess. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions and everything we went over. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.